It's the damn ego. It'll get you every time. I think this is a few wrapped in one. Because I feel like they're pulling from previous post about... It's like sometimes you're doing all the right stuff, right? You're honoring you, you're loving you, you're staying in your lane, you're focused, all this stuff. But it just seems like, what the fuck, right? Because then it does feel like... it almost feels like something's out to get you, right? So people want to end up blaming outside themselves. Because it does seem like, what the fuck, right? But it's, a million variations, right? One could say it's like, well, you planted the seed and you gave it time to grow, but it hasn't grown yet. And it's a type of seed that it doesn't come up until year 3. Well, you didn't know that. So you've been waiting around for so long now that it's almost like the idea of your vibration has gone down, right? Because it went from excitement to expectation to disappointment. Do you know what I'm saying? And so, this is one, definitely never judge a book by its cover or judge what's going on in somebody else's life because you really have no idea. Yeah, but we do need to ask ourselves where we're coming from. And so, see, I don't know if they're all overlapping or not. They were showing somebody else who got destroyed by their demons, where the first half of the story, it seemed like it feels like they're getting destroyed by their good conscience, right? It's like doing all the right things and positive and all this stuff, and things started working out. And so it's like they feel like they're getting led away. And it's like, are you getting led away by your ego? Like, what is happening? And so... Again, so it's like they were showing the opposite, that they were showing somebody else who really was being led by their ego and or their demons, or like whatever you want to say. Like they showed it at first like an addiction, like drugs or alcohol or something, but I don't think it was that. I think it was more of an addiction of like, I think they were looking to harm somebody or seek revenge or punish somebody, something like that. But because they were letting that rule their mind, rule their movement, push them forward, right? Like it destroyed them, which is always what happens. The ego will destroy you. It's like somebody who worked so hard to get to where they're at. And instead of honoring where they're at and doing, quote, the right thing, the honorable thing, instead, they let their greed, their revenge, their anger run their show. They let that lead their show. And so they destroyed everything they worked so hard to gain because they were looking to harm. The number one rule, right? But when people are in those states, I don't know if they know they're in their states. It's like, what is that? Arrogance, cockiness? Like they think they're too big for their britches. They don't think they can fail. They don't think, like, what is it? Like, what's the arrogance there that they were excusing harming another? Like, what is the excuse? It's like, can they see that far behind their own mask? Can they go that deep within to be that clear and that honest? Do they even know themselves that well to see it, to recognize it, right? To realize that they destroyed their own life, everything they had worked so hard for, that they were the only thing they knew how to do, what they were good at, because it's like abuse of power. They chose to use the power they had gained from working so hard to get to where they were to harm another. It's like it doesn't even make sense. Let's hope they didn't do all that specifically to harm another. I mean, that would really be insane. But so you can see how quickly an ego can destroy your life. And we see it all the time in history. And, man. So the other thing I think they were wrapping into this one was the fact that it was like showing the good-hearted person to be grateful for where they were at, right? So it's like I had started off by saying like the good-hearted person who had all the right intentions and was forward-focused and operating from their heart and their higher self and all this stuff, but seemingly life was not going well. And even though they kept trying to, it's like, see the silver lining in all this, it just was still a struggle. It was a challenge. And yet when they see somebody else who's operating from their ego and their life seemingly going much better gets totally destroyed, and they can see why. They do see it is legitimately from their ego. It kind of almost gives that, not relief, but release of like, okay, I need to not be so hard on myself. I need to be grateful for what I have and check myself and be happy that I'm not coming from my ego, right? Because imagine what kind of situation you would be in if you were, right? Because that's the thing. It's like the rise before the fall. It's that idea of, it's like you can't see it when you're on your way up if you're operating from your ego. And then it gets smashed because you're letting it run your show. They're talking about out of balance right now, and they've been having me feel that lately where I have been, it's like leaning to the left. Sorry, that also sounded like they meant something else with that too. That's really interesting. It's like you're being swayed one way or the other, or you're unbalanced, or you are leaning too far to the left or to the right. Or you're like trying to get back on the right or into the right. I don't know. It's something about being unbalanced. Maybe they're suggesting even like with this story where it's like both sides need to balance out. The person who was operating 100% from heart needs to have a little more ego. And the person who was 100% ego needs to have a little more heart, right? It's that idea of we all need to be balanced within oneself. You can't be a doormat, but you can't be a closed door. This is just interesting to me because I've always, per usual, I didn't realize many conversations they were having me engage in and stuff I was exposed to are all overlapping right now. And it's always comical as well because at the end of the day, the boiled down version is, I guess, the exact same thing. We all need to be balanced within oneself. Kind of like to get by in this world, right? It's that idea where it's like, well, if you want to live in this world, you do have to be balanced. You can't be a completely open door and you can't be a completely shut door. You really do need to figure out how to balance yourself out. Learn your lessons, recognize where you're coming from, choose wisely. Really choose your thoughts wisely. Yeah. I was going to say, I feel like things are speeding up again, which you've heard that's been coming through in the last few. At the same time, I feel like you can't see it. So I don't know. There's like, maybe it's just the idea if you don't see this coming. I can't stand comments like that, but it's the truth sometimes. Sometimes we are just so, sometimes it's stuck in our ways, but it can be for good or it can be for bad. It's the idea of like a tower will come in and you get what you get and you won't get upset, is what I remember that saying, where it's like you get back what you put out. What is that? It's like sometimes it is a test. Sometimes it really is a test to see how you'll behave in certain scenarios. And it's like, will you turn cold, or will you turn to operating out of your ego? Will you, how hot does it have to get, or how bad does it have to get? Does it have to be that for you to turn a certain way? And at some point, it's like you just are who you are. You're either, you operate from your heart or you operate from your ego. Something like that. Because that's what it kind of feels like. It's like, well, I mean, I do feel like we're all in a simulation. You're not even aware, but it specifically feels like there's a scenario or a case or a situation where the heat really was turned up, unbeknownst to you. But again, see, part of the reason I don't like that is because it very much gives way or gives energy towards a storyline that is like, can be bullshit. It's like giving away your power. And yet, there are times where it's like our soul is tested. Like, are you ready to up level? Have you learned the lesson? Are you utilizing your power for good or bad? Oh, that's why they showed me that example of somebody who had worked so hard and in a specific field, and they received all that, quote, power. They, merit for, reward for all their hard work, and then utilized that new title for bad, for their own. And it's like, it's such a fine line because I'm not giving you specifics. It's not that you don't want to reap the benefits of your reward, but not if it's at the intentional expense or harm of another. Do you hear what I'm saying? It's like, it's not that you don't want to, like, yes, of course you want to enjoy the fruits of your labor and benefit from what you worked so hard for. But the story I gave previously, they were literally specifically wielding their power to target, to harm. Which I guess then that would, imply that, yes, there is sometimes outside factors beyond our control. When somebody sets their sights on you and intentionally goes out of their way to tear you down at every turn. But again, what I've shared with you, because people will describe that same scene in a myriad of ways. And I have been in those scenarios. And the truth is, the only way to, it's like stay in the upright, is to keep your eye on the prize and be honest with yourself and loving yourself and keeping your attention, your thoughts, your focus in the right direction. Otherwise, you're calling it in. That's literally the only way to combat it. It's like if you start to turn and resist it or fight it or any of that, then what you resist persists. You're giving it energy and power. You're giving it attention. You're making it real. You're literally manifesting it by giving it attention, thought, power. That's the smack you're going to get, because then you're like, fuck. Right? You have to recognize that. So that's why it's like, sometimes it's like we don't always know where these end or start, but it can end and start with you, right? Like, even if you can't figure out where your thoughts turn sour, this or that, sometimes people are wackadoodle, right? They see you and all of a sudden they don't know you, but they hate you and they don't like what you said, or they overheard something, or God knows what. And, or there's just a series of things they were triggered by that you weren't trying to trigger them, but they weren't working on themselves. So they were certain it was all your fault and they wanted to blame you and tear you down. And so it's like, when you become the target of that, I mean, there's probably, people could probably tell you all types of wild stories of people of high profile and high positions probably have had to battle that all their life. And so, the only thing that I've experienced in my little life, in my little, whatever exposure and whatnot, but from just random, is you got to keep your focus on you and the love of you and your life and how you want it to feel and look. But don't get me wrong, the efforts that can be done nowadays can really rip you from your alignment. And so it does feel like at times the constant battle to get back in focus, back in alignment, back in, it does feel like, and so I'm not suggesting that it's always easy, but I am suggesting it is the answer. You have to love yourself and honor yourself and get clear within yourself to have your thoughts and focus in the direction you really truly want them. And it's not on anybody who is, quote, out to get you or this or that, because again, that's just making it real. It's like, then you're just as mad. It's the idea of like tick for tat or fire with fire or playing tug of war. It's like you're picking up the rope when you engage, when you give it even thought. So I'm saying I understand that it can be hard to disengage once you get into that rhythm or loop. But so then don't get into that rhythm or loop, right? If it's brought to your awareness, the second it is, do your best to drop it and refocus. Okay. All right. So now they're showing, that's back to the beginning of the example where they were showing that person. There was somebody who was really operating out of their ego and it destroyed their whole life. And that is what happens. And we've all experienced that, and maybe not that dramatic or that, but on smaller scales. And it's like the warning and the example, like that's the warning. Look what happens when you slip from who you really are. When you allow bad decision after bad decision, meaning decision that was led from looking to harm, to get, to steal, to take, to get revenge. It seems like revenge or harm. I think I was saying that earlier too. Like it definitely seems like this person was looking to, my point is it was malicious. It was like premeditated, malicious energy. Which just seems so obvious. Like, of course you're going to get karma, you're going to get back what you put out, however you want to say it. And yet, this person really thought, I guess they had gotten away with it so many times before or something. I guess it builds up that ego, right? It makes you arrogant and obnoxious and too big for your britches and misuse of power and all the cliche sayings you hear all the time definitely are applicable here. Yet it's sad, it's shocking. Sorry, they keep showing this one part and I'm confused by it. It's like, it is shocking. They are confused. Or maybe they're just disappointed in themselves because it was like they're blinded. We do get blinded by our ego. We do. We get blinded by, it's like when you get in that lower state and you're being led by that, when you're being led by revenge, I'm going to get you, or envy, or I'm going to hurt you, I'm going to take everything from you. If it's that anger, that jealousy, that seething, that fire in the belly, that clawing at one another, that, I don't know, it's kind of vicious. But again, it's like, I don't even know if the way they're showing it to me is like they're showing somebody normal on the outside, but that they keep flickering to what's behind the mask. And it's somebody foaming at the mouth. In other words, I don't know if they even realize how angry they are or how much they're operating out of that lower state. And I think we do that. I think we lie to ourselves to keep us going in the direction our lower self wants us to go in. If your ego wants you to go in a certain way because it technically thinks it's protecting you, and you're not conscious enough to be like, you're not protecting me, this is hurting me, and this will eventually hurt us even more. This isn't honoring me, and it's harming another. Why can't we have, it's like a discussion or this or that. It's not resolved in a normal way because you've lied to yourself. It's like you'll convince yourself if you're in cahoots with your ego. No, this is the right thing. This is the right thing. This is justifiable. I have an excuse for this. It's like they can come up with some kind of rational or reasoning as to why they should harm another, which is just psychopathic, right? Like I don't know what that is. And so, yeah. I think I'm just nosy or curious about this storyline they're showing me and telling me. Because it is fascinating how we behave as humans and are just, it's like so oblivious when we allow those lower energies. When you don't take control of you and you don't take control of those demons and you don't recognize them, man, they can literally drive you right off a cliff. And in this case, it destroyed this person's whole career. And so it's like, well, he obviously couldn't see that far down the road. He obviously wasn't, like, if he knew that was going to be the result, obviously he has remorse now. Oh, that's interesting. Remember we talked about that in the past too. There was something that was coming through, I think it was last year or the year before, about, what was it now? Hindsight, apology, right? It's like people were all of a sudden going to apologize to you or feel bad or want to make it up or all this stuff, but only because they were caught, only because they got their hands slapped, or only because everything was ruined or destroyed, not because it was the right thing, not because, in other words, if things went the way they wanted it to go and they were able to harm the other and steal from the other and take from the other, there's no remorse, there's no apology, there's no shame, blame, guilt, nothing. It's only because it's like they're called to the carpet or they're getting their karma or their career was destroyed that all of a sudden they feel bad. But remember that happened I don't know that they do feel bad. It's, well, one, based on what I just said, clearly they're only apologizing because it's like they have to or something. But even still, even seeing that their whole life is now ruined by their own actions, they're still mad. Damn. It's, they're showing it like in Revelations. They're showing them like the devil and demons. Like, wasn't there a part where it's like a monster comes up and then gets destroyed, and then another monster, like the ego gets even bigger and sneakier and slicker and slyer, only because he took the anger and the power from the first one that got destroyed and like advanced, right? Learned from the previous, and then still gets destroyed. Because it's the less than energy, right? It's coming from the ego, not from the heart. Yeah, that ego, it'll get us every time. We have to, it is like Revelations. It's like you do have to, I think they say they like, after it was released for a time, it got then like tied up and bound, chained down forevermore. Right? It's like that idea. It's like you have to be able to bust through all that, recognize all that, and chain it up, right? Like you have to be in charge because you see what happens when you don't, and it's never good. It may feel like it, or you might be fooled by it, right? It's that idea of where, I think it talks all about that, where like people are fooled by it, they're awed by it, they bow down to it, they praise it, they're like, oh my God, you're genius, you're wonderful. They follow it or whatever, and then it gets destroyed. And so it's like, what do they say? They gnash their teeth, and then they're all destroyed because nobody was thinking on their own. They're all operating from their ego. They're all operating out of fear. They're all operating out of less than. They don't know how to get to their north. No, they're not loving themselves or honoring themselves. It is the idea from the beginning where it's like, some people, what's the cost of peace, right? So the first scenario, the person was operating out of their heart and good intention and everything else, but it did cost them a tremendous amount. It did seem like it was still a challenge, right? It wasn't like it was easy. And so they were a little worn and disheartened by this fact, right? It's like the idea of the American dream was not being fulfilled, right? Like you did everything right and it's still not, and it can be disheartening, right? And then you see somebody else who it seems like everything is going smashingly well, but no, they're just going smashingly. They're going to get smashed because they're operating with the intent to harm and destroy. And so it's not to judge and it's not to compare, but it is to wake you up. It's like to snap you back into the reality of it could be worse, which again, I don't want you to think like that, but it's like reality, bringing you back into proportion, right? Like, wouldn't you rather, like it might be a struggle either way, but at least you're operating to the best of your capacity and you're loving yourself and you're honoring yourself. But yeah, there's hard times versus just getting destroyed because your ego led you down a wrong path. So I guess they're also showing us sometimes the outside can appear similar. So two people could be walking down like a struggle path, but one's doing it in the upright, the other one, it's the result of their actions. And so one will rise up and the other won't be able to get off that horror trail. I guess it's the idea until they eat up all their karma, but that could be lifetimes, or they're showing they'll gnash their teeth forevermore. They're throwing so much into this one, but they keep going back to Revelations. And then there was something else that just flickered. I think it was like a cartoon. Can you show me again? What was that? It was like a fairy tale. Yeah, it's kind of like I guess they're kind of showing it's the idea of like everybody's life is like a game or a simulation or a test. I mean, it's wild how they show it. They show it like this many a times, but all different scenery and different, where it's it is like everybody is put into the simulation of their mind, and if they're able to get through the maze to the other side, it's bliss. And it's like everybody you encounter and engage with are part of your play, your game, your whatever, and you have to see like the real role and how to get up and out, all while living. It is like the ultimate game, right? Or the ultimate test, it is pretty crazy how they show it. But I also find it to be very true and very interesting and very much like different movies I've seen that come very close to how they show it and how it really is. And it's wild. Okay. Thanks so much for tuning in and listening. You can now purchase an audio journey with me using the link below.